Hey everyone, welcome to another Anachronism review. Today we will be reviewing Julius Caesar. If you can see him right here, Julius Caesar. Or as the Romans would have called him, Julius Caesar. Yes, the C is pronounced as a K, and so we get the word Kaiser in German, which means emperor. Or in Dutch, Keizer, which also means emperor. But he was not an emperor. He was a self-proclaimed dictator. And let's see what the text says here. As a priest, lawyer, warrior, general, and Caesar, Gaius Julius leaves his mark both with his mind and with his sword. Yeah, he was a military genius. He wrote the book De Bello Gallici, which we will review later. Well, not review. Wow. But we will see later in this game. So he is a warrior, a Roman warrior male, as we can see. Too bad it's a bit dark in here. Okay, the grid says +0 in front of him, +0 on the right, and -1 on the rolls, top right diagonally. Yeah, I have seen better grids, but I have seen worse as well. Okay, so he has 7 health, 3 speed, 3 experience, and 1 strength. And his ability, Alea Iacta Est, which means the dice is cast, does once per turn. Before you roll the dice, the roll is considered to be a 7. A 7 is quite neutral, but yeah, well, it's a 7 out of 12. It's not too bad, it's not too good. Still, if you want to play safe, you can use the ability. Alea Iacta Est. He said this, apparently, right before crossing the Rubicon. Well, you need to know, in Roman law, Roman generals needed to disband their army before going back into Rome. In Rome, it wasn't allowed to be, there would be any armed soldiers in the city. They feared that someone might take the name of dictator to himself and conquer Rome for themselves, which had happened in Julius Caesar's early years. Around the year 81 BC, I believe, the dictator Sulla came back from a campaign, and he did not disband the army before crossing the Rubicon. So he took control of the Senate and actually the city of Rome. He tyrannized the Senate, and he did what he thought was best for himself. Now then, everyone was in fear of that. So, oh right, and of course the most important thing, proscriptions. Sulla, okay, let's just put Caesar over here, shall we? In the spotlight. Why is it so dark? Why doesn't my light work? Well, okay. So Sulla, he came back from a campaign, and he put up conscription lists, which were basically proscription lists, which were basically the names of rich Romans or enemies of Sulla personally, and every man on the list was considered an outlaw. And it was your duty as a Roman to do harm upon those people. So normally these, well, normally it was possibly the first time in history that the Romans used it. And it was used to make money. So the rich were killed, the money was taken, the property of the rich was then auctioned, and the money from that was used again by the state. So people didn't want that, and to prevent it, they had the law that crossing the Rubicon with an army was forbidden. So when Julius Caesar spoke the words Alea Jacta Est, he meant that dice had been cast, which was a quote from a play by a Greek writer whose name... No, Menander. It was Menander. So he said it and he meant that the dice had been cast, there is no way back. And his troops followed him. This art, and I really hope that you can see it, is the art that he stands in front of the Rubicon. Here's a bridge, some soldiers on it, and his soldiers are behind him. They are waiting for him to give the order to cross and to proceed, which they do. From that time on, Caesar is considered by Roman law to be a criminal. Before that as well, but we come to that part later. Now, the enemies of Caesar fled Rome to Greece, and Caesar chased them to Greece, then to Egypt, and he chased them to Egypt. And there he found a beheaded opponent, which was also an old friend from him. Of him. Caesar, well, we all know the end of Caesar. He was stabbed to death by conspirators, senators, led by Brutus, or so they say. Now, Brutus was descendant from a long line of senators and consuls, and back in the early days of the Republic, which is about 560 BC or so, the last king was driven from Rome by someone called Brutus. Now, by the time Julius Caesar was about 56, the Senate, some people of the Senate, the Republicans, they got some strong hints that he wanted to become king. So they made a conspiracy and they asked Brutus to be the head of the conspiracy because his ancestors drove the last king from Rome. It will be symbolic to them. He accepted, and Caesar was killed on March 15, 44 BC. Now then, let's continue with the cards. Next up we have Jupiter, head of all gods. Alright, wait. Let me just make a little light because this is unbearably dark. Be right back. Ah, yes. Much, much, much better. Now we can actually see the colors in the card. Look! The Romans! They are red. Oh, well, they wear red as they should wear. Alright. This card. Jupiter. Jupiter was the upper god of the Roman pantheon. As the text says, as supreme god of the Roman pantheon, Jupiter rules the gods, the skies, and the weather. Now then, he is then, of course, an inspiration, a deity, Roman. And his ability, vis Jovis, each round, if you win initiative, your attacks deal 1 + 1 damage that round. It has initiative of 5, so that's right in the middle. But if you win, if you just put this card first, and you flip it, and then every other card that comes next, and you win the initiative for that, you get a +1 on the attack roll. No, wait, +1 damage even. Huh, well, that's nice. Jupiter, main god. Yes. Very nice, nothing to do with Julius Caesar in specific, unless you count Caesar's, how do you call that? Office. Caesar, once upon a time, before he became a consul, a senator, a general even, he was Pontifex Maximus, which was well, which is today. Today, that is the title of the Pope. The Roman Catholic Church, the Pope. His official Latin title is Pontifex Maximus. Well, back in the Roman days, it was the title for the top priest, the highest priest. So maybe Jupiter, they put Jupiter in this booster for Julius Caesar because he was that. Oh yeah, it also says here a priest. All right, so that. Next up, De Bello Gallico. De Bello Gallico was a book which I have right here. Well, it's not a big book. It's just a small book. Libri Septem. Well, De Bello Gallici, or De Bello Gallico, as it is called here, means the war on Gaul. Now, Gaul is modern-day France. Julius Caesar needed a victory in war. He needed, he needed victory in war. So he made war with Gaul. At first, he was waging war with the Swiss people, but he pushed further and further and further, all in the name of defense. And he wrote a book about it, about all his victories and the strategies that he used. And the very first line in that book is, just as it says right here, Gallia est omnis divisa in partes tres, which means Gaul in total is divided in 3 parts. And the 3 parts, yeah, they refer to, let me see here if I can find it, and if not, then not. Ah, right. Belgae, which is Belgium. Aquitani, I don't know what that is, and Celtae. No, wait. Celtae is the language that they spoke. Well, I cannot see the third one. Belgae, Aquitani. Yeah. Alright. Well, I presume the third one is just Gallia. So, he wrote a book about it. And the book is still available for purchase. And it's a great way to study his way of thinking, his way of strategy, his way of waging war. And for the Latin scholars, it is a great way to see the Latin he used. So this card is special, and it's a tome. So the ability Gallia est omnis divisa in partes tres says the following: your attack rolls gain +1, while the total initiative of all of your cards is greater than the total initiative of any other warrior's cards. So you have to have a whole lot of initiative to make this card actually useful. And your attack rolls gain a +1. But it only has an initiative of 5. That's not a lot. Too bad. Really too bad. Right, next up. Caesar's Greaves. The greaves, that they refer to the greaves around the legs, which you can see right here. Now then, the shin guards, as the text says, protect warriors, especially mounted troops, from attacks against their legs. Yeah, these were typically used by cavalry. The card is armor, and it has tutela crucibus, which says after you roll doubles on a defense roll, gain 1 life. Now that's nice if you roll a lot of doubles. So it has an initiative of 3, which is even worse than the other 2 cards. But hey, yeah, it's the very first set of Anachronism, so I cannot blame them. They had to start somewhere, right? Next up, Gladius. Now the gladius is the most famous Roman sword, or as the text said, known as the sword that conquered the world. The gladius is a remarkably balanced thrusting sword. It is very, very balanced. I have one myself, and it is amazing. Just look at it. From the tip, obviously this is a replica, don't think I own an actual one. It would be lost in time. This is a gladius, and it is quite heavy, but well balanced. Right, the gladius was used as a thrusting, a stabbing weapon. Not a slashing weapon, but a stabbing weapon. The formations of the legions were quite closed, and there wasn't any room to hack and slash. So they used it as a stabbing sword, which worked perfectly well. Alright, so this weapon, a one-hander, a sword, of course, has the ability Lamina Acuta. Attacks with this weapon deal +1 damage if you have a face-up shield card. Well, we didn't get any shields with Julius Caesar, that's a shame. But still, many, many more cards to go. And the fun of this card game is that you mix it all up. Alright, so if you have a face-up shield card, the weapon deals +1 damage. Attacks with this weapon deal +1 damage if the defender has no face-up armor card. Yeah, that's probably because the Romans used to fight a lot of barbarians, which, well, they didn't have much of an armor. Leather, cloth, but not metal like the Romans. Yeah. And it has an attack of 1, basic, and an initiative of 6. Wow! Best initiative in the entire booster. Alright, so the grid has +1/+1 on both sides diagonally up, and it has a +0 to the left. Alright, so Julius Caesar overall, yeah, if you go melee, you can attack the right flank. If you go by weapon, you have your left flank. Yeah, it covers that. Just don't get stabbed from behind. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll be reviewing another ancient hero sometime soon. I hope you enjoyed it. See you all later.